Hello, Assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound and healthy. And yes, we need to talk again. When things get too serious, my brain gets too filled up with all these thoughts, and I really have to work through them in order to be able to talk about them, because it's the same as with writing. At least it's becoming like that, because the reason I cannot write, as I've mentioned many times, is because I need to be at peace. Seriously, I need to have mental peace in order to write, and I haven't had that peace for over a decade. It's almost 2 decades now. I haven't had that peace, and I cannot write. And for the first time, actually for the second time in my life, I'm going through a very, very bad writer's block. Not because I have nothing to write, I have loads moving in my brain, but it's because it's too much, and too much is going on, and my brain is filled with that pain and that aggression and that anger and all those, all those intense thoughts that I cannot put it down to pen. Yeah, I know. Usually people, I think, put it down to pen when they're at that point, but no, I need to work it out of my system, be at peace, and then write. And now it seems the same thing is happening with the podcast, because before it wasn't like that. As you know, with the podcast is like, okay, so it's there, it's intense, it's in my mind, I need to get it out, I'm talking. But because in my nature, it goes against my nature to talk. Okay, generally, my nature is such that the more I talk about something, the more actually it pisses me off. It doesn't help. People say, oh, when you talk things out, it helps. No, it really doesn't. Not for me. So I'm not the type to talk about things when they truly, truly disturb me. Well, okay. So let's just push past that and see. So I finally managed to work my brain into, talking about it, because these past few days, a lot has been happening, as we all know. In India, the cockroach movement began. Okay, irony here. I think I've mentioned it here. Maybe I haven't. I don't know. But irony. Okay, literally the day I call our establishment and bureaucracy and our puppet government cockroaches, literally that same day, or like the very next day, I hear about how the Indian minister calls his public, especially the young generation, I think it was, that he called cockroaches. And I was like, what the frack? What the frack? And so began the historic cockroach movement in India. And we're all very, very proud of the very young, very, very young teenagers, who are basically not even Gen Z. I think they now come under Gen Alpha, isn't it? Although everybody likes to put everybody under the Gen Z flag. But if you're looking at teenagers, I think many of them would come under the Alpha generation. But anyway, okay. Let's consider them Gen Z and Alpha together. And I think everybody in India is so proud of them, and everybody in Pakistan also is so proud of them. Everybody all over the world is so proud of them. But now here's the kicker, okay? They made the movement, they made the historic movement. Their police showed them brutality, but not the brutality that Pakistani police showed our people. As you know, in Pakistan, the protests have been on and off going on since Imran Khan was illegally kidnapped by the British-owned army that calls itself Pakistani army but doesn't belong to Pakistan. And when he was kidnapped, and then he was, illegally charged for all the crimes that actually they committed. It's amazing, isn't it? They committed the crimes and they charged him for it. And then they put him in jail, and Europe was quiet, okay? Europe was quiet. The people of India made a lot of noise. The celebrities, the sportsmen, Pakistan celebrities and sportsmen were too cowardly to even, seriously, there was hardly a peep from them. But the Indian celebrities and sportsmen and even politicians, some of the politicians, the opposing politicians, opposing to the Indian government, they voiced out loud as to what shit Pakistan's doing with its legend. A man that has commanded respect all over the world. But obviously, Europe was quiet because Europe is the one behind it, especially the UK, the USA. They were behind it. Why? Because he was doing what they couldn't tolerate, and that was again working on making Pakistan 100% sovereign, an independent state, which we know Pakistan is not, because Pakistan was hijacked the very day it was made, and Qaid-e-Azam, the founder of Pakistan, was killed, then his sister was killed, then Liaquat Ali Khan was killed. Basically, all the founders, everybody that was involved in the creation of Pakistan, they were all killed by the British through our army or through the CIA, or through both. They've always had this collaboration of killing off our leaders whenever they tried to fulfill that commitment of Qaid-e-Azam's of making Pakistan a sovereign state. So obviously, when the elections were hijacked again, because despite the fact that Imran Khan, you do realize that Imran Khan is currently our prime minister, right? Like, he is our elected prime minister, and he's still in jail because the US and UK planted mercenaries, that is our government, they hijacked the results. I mean, they literally the results were so overwhelming, they couldn't actually hijack the results of the elections, but then they decided to just say, oh, we don't care, we're going to sit our asses on the seat, we call the shots now, so yeah, they became, the Gore Bandars mercenaries. So here we are at the mercy of the Gore Bandars. Here we are colonized once again. But yeah, because they basically came here to complete the recolonization, to complete the handover of Pakistan back to the Gore Bandars. So here we are, right? Now, so as I said, because of all of that, there have been on and off lots of protests in Pakistan. But again, unlike India, in Pakistan, the army and the police have literally been shooting the youth, in their heads, right? So that is how they dealt with the protests here. They shot people in the heads, they shot people in the chests. Remember Islamabad massacre, remember Muridke massacre, remember the torture, the kidnapping, the beating, the killing of people in Lahore. So yeah, that's been going on, right? And now we have the latest, Kashmir. Gilgit-Baltistan has gone through its fair share. Balochistan is still, like, it's been fighting for like almost 70 years. Kashmir is now, you can see how the Indian government and the Pakistani government are once again collaborating with each other. And then you can further understand better why it is that the British left Kashmir as a conflict zone, and how the British, through the Americans, their delegatees or their delegated, henchmen, are now fulfilling that, that mission that they had, of the collaboration of the Indian and Pakistani governments to now reinforce the British control over Kashmir, right? So this, as I said it before, India's not in love with Kashmir. Pakistan's obviously not in love with Kashmir. And when we're saying India and Pakistan, we're not talking about the public here, right? In fact, yeah, this is something that I also wrote on one of the posts on Instagram, and I think I should practice what I preached, because I was like, why are we calling them Pakistan? Because they don't even represent Pakistan. We should call them, the hijackers of Pakistan, or we should call them the mercenaries of Pakistan, or whatever, because they do not represent Pakistan. We didn't elect them. You can't call them Pakistan, So better to just call them the hijackers of Pakistan, maybe, for the want of a better word. So here we have the hijackers of Pakistan, and we've got the hijackers of India, because that is exactly what Modi is as well. So when India now screams that India is colonized, yes, they are much more aware of the fact that India is no longer a democracy. And funny thing, when India and Bangladesh ceased to become a democracy, that was when the West suddenly, put up all those headlines and, beat the drum of how the largest functioning democracies in the world are India and Bangladesh. At that point, when the two countries were actually not bona fide democracies but puppets, as we know, Hasina Wajid had hijacked Bangladesh for a long time, and here we have Modi who has hijacked India. And so no, this is not a functioning democracy. I mean, it is a sham of a democracy, but it's a better sham than Pakistan, which is a completely non-functioning democracy. Because as everybody points out, and we've all been pointing this out at various points, that the whole point of a democracy is that the state, you have to remind them that they are civil servants, which means the state is the people. This is something I've said repeatedly, as you know. We, the people, are the state. Those who call themselves state, they are not the state. They are answerable to the state. They're answerable to us. So they're servants of the state. So the army, the establishment, the deep state, whatever fitemuchis they like to call themselves, the fact remains that they are nothing but our servants. If they are our masters, why are we paying them? They should be paying us. Why are we paying them? Why are they living off of our money? They should go and make their own money then from somewhere. Why are they stealing our land, for example? Why are they stealing our farms? Why are they stealing our resources? Why are they stealing our gems? Why are they stealing our gold? Why are they stealing our, fuel? Why are they stealing our water? Why are they stealing natural gas? Why are they stealing everything then? If they are the state and if they are the masters, why are they taking from us? They should be giving to us, right? Okay, so now we come to this point here again, which I'm trying to make and which I've almost even forgotten. And the thing is that, as I said, so Europe and America are not complaining about the sham of a democracy that is in Pakistan. No. Instead, what they do is every now and then they just give a little bit of a shove or a push to this sham of a democracy when they need things done. For example, they suddenly will leak a little bit about the human rights crisis in Pakistan, and that's basically their way of blackmailing the government into doing what they want, such as waging war against Yemen, or the Houthis waging war against Iran. So yeah, do what we want from you, or else we are the ones who brought you here. We're the ones who made you do all the dirty work. But yeah, guess what? You're the ones who did the dirty work. So if we can put you up here, we can throw you down there if you don't do what we want. Because the reason you're up here is because you are here to do what we want. You understand? So that's that blackmailing that's going on. Otherwise, Europe was very happy to hide the reports of the massive stealing of public mandate during the elections. They were happy to hide the trigger-happy militia and police that shot innocent civilians in very, very peaceful protests. Again, that's the difference. The difference between the Indian protests and the Pakistani protest, again, is that the Indian protests were not very peaceful. And rightly so, because as I said, we have seen it. We have been the most peaceful protesting country by far in the world, especially in the recent years. And we have had the most loss of lives, right? Even right now, as I said, the latest is Kashmir, where in Rawalkot, well, finally they are given the exposure. Thank you very much, Middle East Monitor and Al Jazeera, for giving them that exposure. But so in Rawalkot, people are protesting. They've taken to the streets for a long time, but they're getting the exposure internationally now because things are getting way out of hand. And Maryam Nawaz is doing her false campaigning over there. False in the sense that there's nobody there standing there listening to her. She's basically campaigning to an empty plot, and her father is like, giving a speech where he's saying, oh, I told Mariam, do to Kashmir what you did to Punjab. And that was, at that point, I had actually written a post on social media saying that, oh God, my condolences, my prayers are with you now, Kashmir, because if she actually begins to do to you what she did to Punjab, then you're going to have a lot of rapes, you're going to have a lot of street crime, and you're going to have a lot of genocide, basically. Yes, because genocide is genocide, even if you're doing it in your own country. When you're killing off masses, as we know, Pakistan, like India, is a country of multi-ethnic, variations. So it is a country that has various ethnicities and various religions. Yes. So, for example, if you're going to start killing the people of Punjab, this is in its own right a form of genocide or ethnic cleansing. And now, if you started killing people in Balochistan, that is an ethnic cleansing or genocide in its own form. And now, if you're killing people in Kashmir, which they're doing, so they're like, oh, our experiment in Punjab went very well. We killed people. And we stopped them. So we're going to kill people in Kashmir too. But you've forgotten one thing, which is something we keep on reminding you. And number one, Kashmir is not a part of Pakistan. Kashmir is basically, the status of Kashmir is that of a state that is under refuge. Okay? So it is a part of Pakistan, but it's not a part of Pakistan. Why? Because anytime it can choose to let go, and anytime it chooses to do that, we have an obligation to let it go. And that is the same demand that we're asking from India, that according to the UN resolution, Kashmir has the right to self-determination. So what they're fighting for is their right to self-determination. And Pakistan has always claimed to respect that right to self-determination until recently, which again, shows once again how India, the government of India, and this puppet government of Pakistan are in cahoots once again, and how they are, while pretending to be at odds with each other, but as always, they are secretly working together towards that one aim, that one goal, and that goal, that aim was fed to them by the British, their colonial masters. Right? So in Rawalkot, we have a massive protest going on. Bodies are dropping like flies over there as well. And what is Mariam Nawaz doing? She is posting celebratory posts on social media. And she's the one who in her speech said, oh, I am by my very heart a Kashmiri. I am the daughter of a Kashmiri. My soul is Kashmiri. I was born Kashmiri. My DNA is Kashmiri. My genes are Kashmiri. And so, yeah, the daughter of Kashmir is posting congratulatory posts while people are being killed in Kashmir, because she knows that now Kashmir is going to come under her government. Amazing. Without an election. The same thing that they did in Punjab, the same thing that they've been doing all over Pakistan. And what is Bilawal Zardari doing? What is the PPP doing? They're basically fighting to have a part in the government in Kashmir. They don't care because they worked with the establishment, with the army, to subdue the people of Gilgit and Baltistan. And again, over there too, without any real elections, they have put their government up there. And now they are fighting that they must have a part in the government in Kashmir as well. Imagine. That's what these people are. They look at their priorities. Talking about priorities, look at the priorities of our lawyers. Like the whole world, this is an international global uniform that waiters have worn all over the world. And that is a formal black and white suit. And as we know, waiters, in fact, usually also wear a bow tie, not your regular tie. So what? Why do grooms then wear their bow ties? Maybe grooms should also say, oh, because we wear bow ties, waiters are not allowed to wear bow ties. It's a formal attire in the restaurant industry. It's been like that for half a century at least. So lawyers also have had this attire. Businessmen, many businessmen have more or less the same attire. But look at the priorities of the lawyers. They find that humiliating and offensive. It took you a freaking century to realize that you and the waiters share the same dress code? You serious? And it was okay that your judges were threatened by the establishment, although that's okay. It's also okay that your bar council literally offered you up on a plate to the establishment. Oh no, that's not humiliating at all. It's not even humiliating or offensive that your judges were illegally filmed, recorded, having intimate relationships with their wives in their bedrooms, and later on blackmailed by the establishment. By Maryam Nawaz herself. She very openly said that in her press conferences many times. And that's okay, that's not humiliating. But it is humiliating that you share the same dress code as a restaurant's waiter. Can somebody just go and check the certificates of these lawyers? Are they even educated? Because we do know that in Pakistan there is this trend, there has been this trend for decades, where people who are not at all educated, they have these false degrees made up. They forge their degrees and then, they just, like Maryam Nawaz. I mean, if your own freaking chief minister is metric fail, who knows if she even passed her matriculation seriously. We know she failed her intermediate, and we know that she couldn't study any further, but she has managed to acquire forged documents stating that she's got an MPhil in English. It's amazing, isn't it? So here we are. Protests, as I said. We are proud. We are proud of the Indian Gen Z or Alpha. We're proud of them that they took a stance. But as I said, history tells us that one should not celebrate too early. Let's put it this way. Fine, they finally got their goal. They got that minister to resign. And because it is more or less a functioning democracy, so obviously the minister at the end resigned. Unlike in Pakistan, where nobody's resigning. In Pakistan, everybody's like, oh yeah, you can do whatever you want. We ain't budging. Our ass is glued to the chair, Elfi lagi hui hai na. We've glued our asses to the chairs, so we ain't budging. So yeah, Pakistan is not at all a democracy. But again, as I said, have you heard Europe complain about Pakistan? No. Have you heard America complain about Pakistan? No. But they have the audacity to complain about the ruling, the governance of Iran, the governance of Venezuela, the governance of Russia, the governance of North Korea. Yeah, but the puppet government in Pakistan is fine because it's placed by them. So that's how you can find out what the European and the American priorities are. They don't want democracy. They want a government that they have full control over because, again, they're all about colonialism and imperialism, right? So we're working with demented sociopaths. The Western world is demented, and they're sociopaths and they're psychopaths. And we're working with those insane, demented, God complex ke mare hue people. And the mass of Pakistan is, I know that people are saying, oh, let's congratulate the masses of Pakistan that they went through worse than the people of India, and that the people of India, because they have a functioning democracy, their kids could protest. But I think, you've forgotten that their kids also got beaten up. They also got lathi charged. But yes, here's a difference. I will tell you the difference. The difference is that in India, when the children came out to protest, their parents, their uncles, their aunts, their elders, their families, their teachers, anybody and everybody came and protested with them. They stood by them. They supported them. People came and gave them food. People came and gave them water. Yes, you're going to argue that, when we held Islamabad protests, people came and gave them food and water. Yes, maybe, fine. True. I mean, not maybe. Yes, we know they did that. But after that, every time there was a wave of protest, Our army and our police came out and shot people down. And then they vanished their bodies. Not only did they kill the people, they literally took their bodies away. They did the same in Balochistan. Well, I mean, you could say they've been practicing in Balochistan for decades, so they could do it easily in Punjab. And then they will do it in Kashmir. And then they'll do it in KPK. They'll do it in Gilgit Balochistan, Gilgit Baltistan, and in Sindh, right? We also know that Punjab has suffered the most losses. But remember, Punjab suffered the most losses within these 4 years. Now translate that to Balochistan suffering the most losses throughout the decades. And parts of KPK. Don't forget parts of KPK. In the name of, war against terror, which was not even our war, which Imran Khan kept on and on screaming about. And anybody with 2 cells to rub together in their brain would know that 9/11 was a false operation. Anybody who knows anything about demolition, about controlled demolition, anybody who's an engineer, anybody who's in construction, they know that 9/11 was a farce. It was no terrorist attack. It was controlled demolition. And the planes, the drones were actually identified by the journalists in the first hours of the news. If anybody remembers that, because I remember the news, and they had identified those drones as American government owned drones, by the way. They identified them as that. So yeah, that is what we're trying to explain here, that this is how narratives are created in order to brainwash people so that governments can go ahead and wage wars and invade other countries and steal their resources. And when the best part is that they actually can do so easily because they have control over those countries that were once their colonies, because they still plant governments in those countries. They still actively interfere in the ruling of those countries and the governance of those countries. And so they have been interfering in India's governance, but not to such an extent as they have done in Pakistan. In Pakistan, they literally command over the army, they command over the intelligence. In fact, the British are the ones who created the ISI. I think people have forgotten that. They're the ones who created our military. They, in fact, till the 50s, I think, the director of our military was British, And again, I'll remind you, the person who created the ISI was British. And again, he stayed there till, I think, the 70s or the 60s? The 60s. So, explain to me again, how it is that you consider yourselves the state of Pakistan when you do not even belong to Pakistan. You weren't even created by the people of Pakistan. So, how can you represent Pakistan? These are all mercenaries that the British have left here, okay? And as I've said it a million times before, remember that Nawaz Sharif and Zardari and all, they have a kind of what you call a slave contract. Okay, they have a slave contract with the West, with the British, basically. And again, because they're answerable to the British, so they will be answerable to the Americans, because the Americans are the henchmen of the British, and so are the Israelis. You keep forgetting that, and I have to keep reminding people that. So here we are. We have a country that has already been hijacked, and now they're in the final phases of handover. So obviously the fuel prices are going to be hiked up. Obviously water shortage, gas shortage, electricity. Like, can you imagine 940 million units of overbilling was done by this government? You think that was a mistake? No, it's deliberate. Remember, if you go through my old podcast, you would listen to how many times I've talked about how they target funds. Whenever they want funds, they target the electricity bills. And whenever they start targeting you through your electricity bills, When they start overbilling you, understand that they're up to something. Well, we can see that they're up to something. Well, they're prepping for war, for one. And then they are already right now massively working through Kashmir. So you can see that they are building something there, with the mercenary government. So obviously they need funds. And whenever your government or your army basically needs funds, the first thing that they do is they overbill everybody through electricity bills. So here we are. So right now, what are we looking at? We're looking at the fact that, as I said, yes, kudos to the young ones in India. They achieved a goal, but they must understand that this does not mean victory. Because whenever, let's put it this way, you give the satisfaction of success to distract, disarm your enemy. So don't celebrate too early and don't be too sure that you've succeeded unless that was all you wanted. If all you wanted was the resignation of this minister, then okay, yeah, you've succeeded and that's fine. But if you wanted something bigger, like if you wanted an actual reform, if you wanted an actual government reform, if you wanted the whole Modi government to step down, if you wanted a re-election, then you have to work harder, because what they've just done is they have given you something to keep you quiet. They have let you think, they've allowed you to believe that you've achieved your goal, and they have disarmed you. They did that, for example, in Bangladesh. When finally the students, when they protested, and then again, when Hasina Wajid ordered the military and the police to shoot them, then their parents came, then their elders came, then more people came, right? And so the struggle, the momentum was increased, the struggle began, and then finally she was thrown out. But then what did she do? While getting thrown out, what did India do, basically? So what did India do? India immediately started targeting the opposing leaders from amongst the students who protested, to demoralize and also to break to start a new chaos, to destabilize the coming government. And as we know, for a while the new government was a bit destabilized because some of the key figures in that were supposed to form the new government also, one or two of them passed away, and so they had to sort of start all over again, refiguring things. So it took them a bit of some time, isn't it, to gather the wits about them. Here's another more clearer example. Egypt. Remember the huge, massive protest in Egypt, and they thought they won. They thought they'd finally toppled the government off, and now they'll put the guy of their own choice. The minute they put the guy of their own choice, he was removed, and now they're under dictatorship. And who is that dictator? He answers to, again, the West, the Zionists. Look at us. Okay, let's forget everybody. Look at us. Look at Pakistan. We went through a massive street protest with Imran Khan. We finally toppled the government. We did the elections. We got Imran Khan up there. He became prime minister, despite the fact that the elections were still rigged. Instead of getting his rightful 2/3 majority, he did not, in fact, get those 2/3 majority because of the rigging, but he still made prime minister. What happened? Because they had already cut off his wings before he could even form a government by removing that 2/3 majority, they crippled him. And they thought that, it would be good to go. But despite the fact that he was crippled, he managed to get so many things in order. It scared the West. Especially when, again, he went for the jugular, which was, yes, remove alliances, and make Pakistan neutral. In other words, make Pakistan a sovereign state. So they kidnapped him and they put him in jail. So basically what happened? We made him prime minister and then we sat back thinking, oh, we won. Even though we knew that he was put in a very precarious position, we were like, okay, well, still, at least he won. We have got the government of our choice for once in 70 years. For once, we have got a legitimate government. That alone made everybody so happy and so dizzy that they forgot to see ahead of them. And this is what came ahead of them. They thought people like me were being pessimistic and sarcastic and cynical when we kept on telling them that, yeah, don't be too happy, don't be too happy. Things are, not, just don't be too complacent. Don't celebrate too soon. And as we can see, he is in jail, and so many protest movements began since he was put in jail, and so many people got killed, so many people got kidnapped, so many people got tortured, so many people are right now in jail, in military court, for crying out loud, in military jails. These are civilians, So, on the one hand, we have Kashmir, Rawalkot, where they are still protesting despite everything. And as I said, they are not like the people of Punjab. They are already seasoned warriors in the sense that they're already constantly fighting anyway, because they still have half of Kashmir under the under the Indian, invasion, so Indian occupation. So they're always constantly in a fight mode anyway, and it's just like Balochistan. Balochistan is constantly in a fight mode. So these are very, very socially, very, very politically aware people. The people of Balochistan, the people of Gilgit-Baltistan, the people of Kashmir, because they never could see, they could never live complacently, let's put it this way, like the people of Punjab. The people of Punjab are dead. They're deader than dead, and they're cowardly, and they're useless, and they're utterly pathetic because they have lived complacently and been brainwashed for so long. They're like chickens in a coop. Okay? But not so the people of Kashmir. Not so the people of KPK, because KPK has also had its struggles with the military every now and then. So KPK, Balochistan, Kashmir, these are places that are not complacent. Their people have not been allowed to live complacently. So they are not ones to back down. Kashmiris are not going to back down. They are going to force this puppet government and the military down to their knees. This is an ongoing thing. It's not going to end so easily. But at the same time now, we have Imran Khan's sister Alima Khan, who began a very successful street movement yesterday, as she had promised she would. And as we know, because the public, being the public doesn't care about PTI political members. They don't care about Sohail Afridi. They don't care about Gandapur. They don't care about Barrister Gohar. They don't care about anybody. In fact, to us, it's like Gandapur who? Sohail who, Barrister who the what the who the frack, it's that's what the public, where the public is concerned. It's like, who are you people? We don't know you people. We don't give a frack about you people. As far as the public is concerned, PTI is one man. That's Imran Khan. And PTI are the people of Pakistan. And that is why it's called the biggest political party. It's not called the biggest political party for nothing. It's called the biggest political party because the party's members make up of the public of the country itself. Yeah, so we don't give a frack about all these political lotas who keep coming and going, and they think that they can ride on Imran Khan's coattails, get elected using his name, and then turn their backs on people. Yeah, no, people do not, as far as the people are concerned, they do not exist. Okay? As far as the people are concerned, only Imran Khan exists, and Imran Khan's sisters exist because they're the ones who are sincere towards trying to get him out. Imran Khan's sons exist. Imran Khan's wife, former ex-wife Jemima, and current wife Bushra, Bibi, who is in jail with him, they exist to the public, nobody else. Okay? So at this point, when Alima Khan began her street movement yesterday, it became immediately highly successful. And I'm getting this from people who were actually part of that movement. So according to them, they began from Peshawar, and then they went to Haripur, Mansehra, Ahmedabad, Batal, or is it Batal? I'm sorry if I got the pronunciation wrong. And then Haveliya, and the person on the ground was like, he said that it was amazing the way the way the crowd gathered, and he's like, we all attended, and people traveled from villages to the city just to see the great leader Imran Khan's sister and to show their solidarity. The motorways, the bazaars were packed and blocked. Public response was amazing because the people love Imran Khan more than ever. That is what he had to say, right? And he was part of it, by the way. He mentioned that he was part of it. So imagine that this is what. So on the one side, you have the uprising in India, but on the other side, what the international media is not telling you is that once again, there is a movement in Pakistan. And the media is only now talking about Rawalkot, Kashmir, because that pertains to the Western interests, if you know what I mean. But what is actually quietly brewing in KPK, and this movement, how far it's going to go, that nobody is showing you yet. But the movement is huge already. The main concern is, again, coming to the deader than the dead province of Punjab. That is everybody's concern, Punjab is dead. But that doesn't mean Punjab doesn't come out. No, people will come out. People will come out. We know that. But the problem is, when people in Punjab come out, then immediately the police force, the Punjab police force, they get activated. People start getting shot again. So I don't know what's going to happen. So that's my main concern, is when this movement reaches Punjab, then what happens? So yes, congratulations to India, and I think mainly congratulations because India also started considering itself a dead nation. Indians have been calling themselves a dead nation for a pretty long time, since Modi's government basically came, and since people found themselves helpless as Modi destroyed the whole infrastructure of India, the legal infrastructure, as in the political infrastructure, the constitutional infrastructure, same as our government has been doing. But then again, remember, our government is here on a mission. They are here on a mission. Okay, they are in the final stages of wrapping everything up in a bow tie and handing everything over to the British. So yeah, our case is different. The Indian government's case is a bit different here. In the Indian government's case is that they are once again being fooled by the British into thinking that, they will have power over Pakistan once again. Pakistan will become a part of India. They will once again rule over Pakistan and maintain it as a buffer state as promised 100 years ago. They're in that zone, but what they don't understand is that if Pakistan falls, India falls. They'll understand it when it's too late. If Pakistan falls, half of Asia falls. This is something that only China and Russia have always understood, which is why to them the borders of Pakistan are more important than anything, because as I've repeatedly said this, Pakistan is the padlock of Asia. You want intimate entry to Asia, especially China, then you want Pakistan. And that is why they've always been fighting to have bases in Pakistan. The Americans, their biggest fight with Imran Khan was he refused to give them bases. Musharraf gave them bases, you see. Musharraf gave them bases, and then Imran Khan, he put his foot down. And so this government obviously is preparing ground for the Americans to step in, like the Indians are. And both of them are preparing ground in Kashmir. Okay? because that is the ultimate border that the Americans need in order to confront China. It's common sense. Plus, it's a war of water. As we know, this world war is going to be the war of waters. And again, this is a war of water that was begun by the ultimate Jahil, the Zionists. You know, they're now going to fight over water, imagine. So here we are. So right now, as I said, I think what I would congratulate the students of India on is they thought that they were a dead nation, but they were comatose. They weren't dead. They were comatose. And this movement proved that they still have life. And kudos to them for roughing it out. And kudos to them for not backing down. Their police showed brutality too, but they didn't back down. But you know why? As we said, the role of a democracy is to listen to the voice of the people and to remember that they are here to serve the people. The people are not their servants, they are the people's servants. And a functioning democracy is a very noisy thing, as somebody said. And it's true. Because you're a democracy when there's a lot of noise. And that is how we could see that Imran Khan's was a legit democracy. It was a legitimate democratic government because during his time, the army literally tried to sabotage his government by staging fake protests. The Aurat March, that was orchestrated by the army and their fellow elites. Who are now sitting in the government, their family members, and then there was this very pathetic in the sense that, to be honest, I didn't even hear of that student movement until recently, years later, that there was some student movement where they took a pro-communist or a pro-leftist slogan from the 80s, and they drummed it up during Imran Khan's time. Again, because the numbers were so small and they were from selected elite families. And right now, again, where are those people? So where are those people who did all the women movement during Imran Khan's time? The amount of violations against women, in these last 4 years, far exceeded any and all violence or violations against women or assaults against women in the history of Pakistan. And that even done by our own government, our own military outfit, our own organizations, public organizations. And yet not a single peep from the women movement, from the Aurat March, from the women empowerment movement, not a peep. In fact, what did happen was that when the original women empowerment movement, the Aurat March, when they were going to get their permission to stage a protest, they were immediately arrested by our military. Yes, that is actually what happened. And those alleged self-claimed leftist students, there were literally 5 or 6 of them, to be honest. That is why I never even heard of them, as I said, until recently, when Dr. Shabazz Gill mentioned them in his vlog yesterday, and I was like, oh, who the what and what the who? So yeah, then I checked them out. So guess where they are? They're all abroad, living a very capitalist life, if you please, because after all, they were children of the elites, and those same elites are once again where? Serving in various places in the government or in public organizations right now as we speak. Or those who have retired or or took early retirement or resignation or whatever, are abroad. Those who were students, those who were kids of elite businessmen, those businessmen are right now taking great benefits from the current government. So I mean, basically, those students, they thought that they were being very clever, very smart, but they actually, I think what they were doing was building a portfolio in order to take admissions in those universities abroad, in the UK, in America, Canada, So, yeah. Because as you know, especially when you want to talk about leadership qualities. You would like to mention that you were part of a student movement on a grave, matter to do. And if you point out that you protested in during Imran Khan's tenure, then yeah, it might actually help you get admission in some of the Western universities, don't you think? Especially when they're aware of the fact that their own governments were behind this whole thing. Anyway, you know. So, yeah. So that was actually a functioning, legitimate democratic government during Imran Khan's time, where even though the military was using its people to stage fake protests, Imran Khan never said anything or did anything. Journalists were not kidnapped, tortured, and killed, despite allegations, which obviously are now, those allegations fall flat because you find out that again that was the ISI doing its thing, and Imran Khan interfering with it every single time. Every single time he found out that a journalist or somebody from the media was being harassed or kidnapped or arrested or illegally charged by the ISI, then he would step in and order them to release. That was again, and that was one of the biggest problems that the military had with Imran Khan, and that was that Imran Khan was establishing a proper civilian government and he was not allowing the military to go rogue, you know. So that was again one of their biggest problems. So we actually saw, and you know what, here's another fun fact. During his tenure, never has the public ever screamed for a media channel to be banned or to be censored or to be boycotted than during Imran Khan's time. He didn't say anything to anybody. He allowed Maryam Nawaz to come and spew garbage and hatred out of her potty hole. And to, she came and she made open and blatant threats against him, against the people of Pakistan, against, she incited hatred, she spat venom, and obviously because she was literally paid by the Americans to do that, we literally saw money moving in front of our own in front of our own eyes, when Obama and his wife came and they endorsed Maryam Nawaz in front of everybody and they gave her billions of dollars. And it was for what? Obviously, it was to help her, to help her go anti-state and to help her go anti-government. And again, as I said, never in the history of Pakistan did people ever get up and, demand the government to place a censorship on the media. But the people did that during Imran Khan's time. Yes, during Imran Khan's time, the people were angry on behalf of Imran Khan and his government, and they were issuing verdicts that he needs to charge the media, he needs to censor them, he needs to control them, but he didn't do that. And as we can see, he met his downfall because of that. Just like Musharraf, by the way. Musharraf also met his downfall identically because he gave the media so much freedom that the American government, again, it was Obama at that time, that Obama made full use of that. And if you remember, if anybody ever listened to his speech that he gave to his own people in America when he did a press conference, and he mentioned how many billions of dollars he spent in the name of US aid in Pakistan in order to establish pro-American sentiments. Yeah. That was his way of saying that he had paid the Pakistani media and he had paid the Pakistani institutions billions of dollars to propagate anti-state sentiments and to propagate pro-American interests. And they did that. And that's how Musharraf was removed. Because he also did not censor the media. He did not try to control them because he had other priorities by then, by the way. By that time, Musharraf was basically thinking of removing his military suit, donning a civilian suit, and contesting the elections, and legitimately coming as a civilian government, by the way. Yes. And so he was toppled. So we see that thing happening over and over again. What I'm trying to say is that the patterns are very clear, and we tend to fall for that trick every single time when we think we have achieved our goal, but actually we're just being misdirected, you know, just to keep us complacent, to make us think we've won while they go ahead and do the deed. So I would suggest that the Indian public, if they are after a bigger picture, if they are after a bigger goal, if they want to actually change the government, and to make an actual constitutional change and reform, then they shouldn't be complacent, because this resignation of the minister, yeah, then that was just to keep them quiet. But kudos anyway. Kudos, because as I said, the difference here is that their elders came and supported them, whereas our elders, especially the boomers, their problem is that they are the biggest, most hypocritical generation of a lifetime in the whole world, not just Pakistan actually. Here the whole world comes in. The worst generation of our civilization, as I've talked about, like I've been saying this for years, the worst generation of the whole civilization is our parents' generation. They're the ones that caused all this mess that we're in, and they have ruined the next 3 generations apart from us, right? So our parents are too busy telling their kids, no, 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 we can't afford anything. If you go out and protest, if you get caught, oh, don't write any posts against the military, don't write any posts against the government, oh, we cannot afford any. Yeah, seriously? You fracked us, you screwed our whole freaking future, and you don't even want us to stand up for something that's our right? What's wrong with you people? No wonder your country's gone to the freaking dogs. That's the difference, okay? That is the main difference that you need to see. This is me signing out. Khuda Hafiz.